In this episode of Kids Podcast, I am honored to share wisdom with you about leading kids in your church and in your home. Dealing with kids is hard work, and I'm praying that we add some tools to your tool belt today. So let's dive into today's topic. In this episode of Kids Podcast, we're going to be talking about implementing the Holy Spirit in worship, or better phrased, how to have a spirit-filled worship service or teaching. I'm Ron Gallum, your podcast host for today, and in this podcast we talk to leaders of kids, those that are interested in leading the next generation into an overflowing life with Jesus. It could be a coach, it could be a teacher, it could be a kids pastor, it could be a parent. Does not matter. You have what it takes to lead them. And although we are talking a lot about teaching kids and worshiping kids today, there is some huge truths that you could digest and use in your next experience, because no matter what we do, we want to do it with the Holy Spirit. So let's dive into our topic today and let's lead these kids into His presence. I want to start with my fishing story. I don't always get to use my fishing analogies in these podcasts, but when I can, I try. I do. Boom. So, ice fishing. That's a little harder than regular fishing, and it's not as popular. And the major difference is that the water is colder. And when the water is colder, the fish are colder. And when the fish are colder, they move less. You can think of it a lot like when you're cold, you want to just be bundled up, snuggled up on your couch, and eat some hot soup, right? So when the fish are cold, they don't move around as much. They won't chase as much. And some won't chase at all. And the bait down in the water is different and acts different and all this stuff. So a major hindrance to ice fishing is that the water is just colder. Another hindrance is that the top water is hard. It's literally frozen ice. So you can't just yeet out a lure and retrieve it. It's going to bounce across the top of the ice, and that's about all it's going to do. And then another hindrance is what's going on above the water or above the ice. It's cold. And not all fishermen like to be cold. We like to call these guys fair weather fishermen. Us cold water fishermen love the ice, and we love the cold season, because the fair weather fishermen kind of stop fishing, and that means there's more room for us to get on the ice and get in the cold water and get those fish. But in ice fishing, it's not that popular because there's just more hindrances to the game. Cold water, hard water, and cold air. But how do we catch those fish when there's ice on the water? The answer is very simple, is that we have to remove those hindrances, remove the obstacles. I come in, I bring in a tent, not just any kind of tent, but an insulated tent. I will bring in a heat source of some kind, whether it be my Mr. Buddy or my portable stove, provide heat to my tent. So now where I'm fishing is nice and comfortable. I love this part of ice fishing. Then, that ice, I've got to break it up, chisel it out, whatever, drill a hole, and then remove that ice so that I can get into the water. And then I change my rig to a cold water setup with a unique kind of hook. You can use a regular hook. It can also work. But you want a hook that holds your bait vertical. It would be horizontal. Yes, because your line will be vertical. You want your bait to be horizontal. and you want to be able to mimic or simulate cold water bait. And then as you simulate the cold water bait, fish on. Okay? That's what's happening. But what happens when you introduce kids to this kind of environment? Because my son does not know how to set up a tent. He does not know how to work with a portable stove. He doesn't know how to, stake the tent into the ice. He does not know how to drill the hole. He doesn't know how to simulate the cold water bait. But after he sees me and after he watches and he helps me, and I've showed him, I hand him the rod and I say, you try. And what does he do? He grabs the rod and he tries to do exactly what I just did. He simulates a cold water bait and then boom, fish on for the kid. And for those of you that have ever fished with a kid, you know that smile, like, hey, I got one, Dad. Yeah, look at this. And it's a good experience. Now, I have a friend, a pretty famous friend. And when I say friend, I mean we text each other, and we text each other by name. I texted him the other day, and I was like, hey, yada yada, bada bing, bada boom. He was like, Ronnie, thank you for the encouragement. Bada bing, bada boom. When I say friend, I mean I've sat with him many times. I've driven with him many times. I picked him up from the airport. We've done meals. He's ate with my daughter and my wife and myself and my son. Like, I would consider him a friend. Is he a best friend? No, but he's not just an acquaintance. He is someone that I have selfies with. Now, when I say famous, I mean he is world renowned. People know him. And there's a good chance that if you're into worship music, you have probably heard his songs, if not owned his CDs. And if you know what a CD is, that means you're old enough to probably know who I'm talking about. But I bring this up because he is famous at leading worship. He is famous for teaching worship leaders. So if we're going to talk about this idea of leading people into a spirit-filled worship encounter, who better to ask than someone who is basically an all-star at it, a pro. Now, when I sat with him and I asked him this very basic question, because I wanted to implement it into our kids' service, he said this. He said, Ron, if you want to have a spirit-filled service, the first thing you're going to want to do is remove the obstacles. Remove what is hindering the Holy Spirit. And it doesn't matter if we have a full band. It doesn't matter if you have a one-man band. It doesn't matter if you use video with motions. If you want a spirit-filled worship experience, remove the things that are going to hinder the Spirit. And this is great advice because I've actually heard that before, but not in the context of worship. I mean, it's a leadership principle that if you want to do something or go somewhere, you're going to have to remove the obstacles that keep you from getting there. If you want to catch the fish in the cold season, you're going to have to remove all the obstacles so that you can get to the fish. If you want to lead kids into a spirit-filled worship experience, you're going to have to remove the obstacles that hinder the Holy Spirit. And this is what my friend taught me. So I'm going to give him full credit for this particular podcast. He taught me this. It's not mine. I'm just sharing with you. So from that, I began to lead worship in a way that helped kids experience the Holy Spirit. I do not lead them through motions. I do not lead them to sing a song. I lead them into an opportunity to engage the Holy Spirit. Now, when I'm teaching them, I don't just teach the curriculum or do an object lesson. I teach them in a way that allows them to hear from the Holy Spirit. And it's not just that element. It's what happens before worship or before the teaching. It's what happens before they show up. So all the elements that affect this moment, all the elements that affect this opportunity, I'm asking myself, will this help my kids engage, or will it hinder them? Okay? Does it help or does it hinder them from engaging the Holy Spirit? It's that simple. And sometimes we as leaders, we have more instruments than we need. And it becomes a hindrance. It's one more thing. Now, is that true for everyone? No. Because your culture will be different than my culture. Sometimes it's picking 5 songs instead of 4 songs because now we have to fit our time into a 5th song. Is that bad? No. It's your culture versus my culture. Sometimes it's me talking less so that he can talk more. Now, is that bad if I preach during worship? No! It's your environment compared to my environment. And you've got to ask for your situation, for your culture, for your group of kids. Is what we're doing a help or a hindrance? And no matter where you want to lead others, you have to remove the obstacles, remove the hindrances in order to get them there. So there it is. Boom. Leading kids into a Spirit-filled worship experience. Leading kids into a Spirit-filled teaching experience. Remove the obstacles. If you've got questions, find me. You know where I'm at. Until next time, everybody say, bye, Pastor Juan. Thank you for listening. Smash those like buttons, turn the bells blue, or whatever the kids are doing these days. At the end of the day, our goal is to raise little people to one day become big people. You can find older archived podcasts on our YouTube channel and support what we do at rongaleministries.com. Enjoy!